No cap. Yo, 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 it's your boy Djbuck0, and we are back with another No Cap in My Rap. And I have my co-host with me, KP.
What's going on, guys? Are you guys ready for a exciting episode today? Let's get into it. We got some great ones for this one.
Yeah, we got a very, very special guest with us today, y'all. Y'all been waiting for it. We got my man, BucReising, Titans Reporter. Buck, how we doing?
Man, Jess, it's great to be here. I appreciate you having me on the podcast. I'm fired up.
Buck, it's nice to have you, man. I know, we got it all planned out. I'm really excited. So, I definitely want to make sure, where are you from?
So I'm from Evansville, Indiana. It's a little, my mom's side of the family's from Evansville, Indiana. Dad's side of the family from Cairo, Egypt. And one's a little logistically closer than the other.
Just a little bit.
But, so kind of unique background and something that, I try to carry with me when I go about my things and go about my job day to day and stuff like that. And certainly coming down here to Tennessee and getting to be part of this culture, it's a whole different kind of experience, but a great one.
That's dope. I didn't know. I would have thought, just the way you, the accent and everything. I thought you was originally a Tennesseer. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, Evansville, is that where you grew up? You're upbringing?
So not really. That's why I said that's where I was born. Okay. But we lived all over the place because of what it is that my parents did. My dad worked for the Egyptian Embassy to the United States, and then my mom worked in Washington D.C. and we moved all over the place, but. Her side of the family's from Evansville, so that's where high school, that's where college, all that kind of wholesome stuff was.
Me too. Man, we go to a car show every year in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh, yeah?
Lucas Oil Slamology every summer.
Every year?
Every year we go to there. I can't wait. And guess what? This weekend
coming up. Motorsports and basketball. Yes. That's all we really care about up there. That's about it.
That's it.
You gonna be up there?
Yeah. It said Lucas Oil. No, I'm not taking the bike.
Not taking the bike.
It said Lucas Oil Raceway. So I'm super excited to go every year. It's so dope.
Now, what's your favorite part of going to Indy?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Wow. Absolutely nothing. I hate the streets. No. It's always bad gas.
And
every time.
I love Kokomo.
Every time.
Kokomo.
I love Kokomo, Indiana.
Really?
Like the wintertime,
yeah.
So I went to school in Michigan.
Okay.
But I'd always going to school up top near the UP, we have to come down, and I'd have a choice.
Yeah.
Do I want to take Kentucky or do I want to ride out through Indiana? I said so. A couple times I went through Indiana, went through Kokomo through the wintertime, and I loved how it looked. And they had a spa out there that I went to. It was really nice. So I love Kokomo.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
A spa in Kokomo, Indiana. Who'd have thought?
I can't say it was close to Kokomo. It was really close, but Kokomo was cool. That's where I was at most of the time, and Kokomo to me was cool. I don't know much about Indiana besides Kokomo. I go to Kokomo and have a great time.
There's not much to know. That's okay. It's one of those flyover stuff.
So we said hoops and
motorsports.
So in high school, what sport did you play?
Football.
There we go.
Football. That's not hoops now.
No, it's not.
What happened?
Not coordinated enough to play basketball. I'll be straight up, be honest with you. But I grew up playing football in grade school and high school, and wasn't necessarally determined on a career in sports or anything like that. It just kind of worked out that way. But we had pretty competitive high school basketball and football teams. The state, a lot of talent coming out of there, just like Tennessee, any of these high-level programs. But certainly first exposure to team competitive sports and really getting into it in high school football, and I think that kind of shaped, at least the starting point.
So who was you looking up to as far as NFL athletes at the time?
Oh, man. I mean, I played defense.
Okay.
I loved watching the Baltimore Ravens. I loved Terrell Suggs. Terrell Suggs, just a nasty mother out there. You know what I'm saying? Big, bad, mean. It didn't care who it was and didn't care who he was up against. Terrell Suggs, that just whole Ravens defense, that Lodi Nada, which is probably going to piss off some Titans fans. My bad.
First off, don't say Ravens because that 99, that 2000, 2001. We kept going against the Ravens.
Oh, yeah. Ray Lewis and Eddie, man. No, that's the stuff of legend.
I hate it.
That's the stuff of legend. But the way that those dudes played, that was always kind of the aesthetic that get a young dude fired up a little
Fired
bit.
up, ready to go.
Oh,
Everybody, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, the whole entire,
It was just a really unique collection of just bad dudes out there.
They were different. So with you being in high school and knowing you played defense, you look like a badass cornerback. What was you, safety corner? What was you?
No, man, I was coming off the edge. The edge, outside linebacker.
Oh,
now,
he was hitting. He was laying that wood.
Well, I'm a little lighter now than I was in high school. To be honest with you,
really, I'm a little fatter now than I was in high school. It's okay.
It was a little thicker coming off the edge there, but really enjoyed defense. Really, kind of like the hitting of it.
Yeah, listen. You see, he was smaller. He was bigger in high school. That was
oh
see,
Lord,
that's crazy.
Did you carry over into college?
No, so not in a way that it would have. I thought been worth the experience of being a collegiate athlete. Nothing, no D1 offers or anything like
So
that.
how did you transition from playing football to sports commentating?
Wasn't any kind of connection. I was going to go to law school. Swear to God.
Really?
Swear to God. There didn't really grow up in a house where sports were a big deal, to be honest with you. That was just kind of something I gravitated towards on my own. And then when I went to college, like I said, both my parents have a background in politics and government, so I was going to go to law school. I was taking a lot of pre-law classes. I was in a sports management class because my cousin's a baseball agent. He was like, "You should check this out. It's a lot more fun to do with a law degree." And some dudes in the class that I was in were like, "You sound ridiculous. You should be doing radio. You should be doing sports talk radio. You
have a great voice. I was
Yeah.
gonna say
You should try out student radio." So I was like, "Well, shit, I don't know anything, but I'll try it." And it did it for a year. Got a couple of job offers, weirdly enough, and came down here right out of school to do an internship at 102.5, the local ESPN affiliate down here.
That is
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes off my question. I was going to ask, like, hey, who are some of maybe the people that you grew up to wanting to maybe be? But it kind of makes sense now when I listen to your story that, you really was maybe going to go into law or maybe something else in politics. And now, because of your charisma, you're in this position. I think that's pretty cool. Because a lot of people I know, I went to school, for example, for sports medicine, and then became wanted to be a mortician, and then now I went in communications.
A mortician.
That's what I'm saying. Like he said that.
Don't decide to slide over that. A mortician.
Family business.
Okay.
Explain.
There we go.
But then now you don't really know what you want to do until you start doing something you love, and that's why when I listen to you on your shows and your streams, your podcasts on YouTube, it sounds like you really love what you're doing.
Man, it's hard not to. It's the coolest job in the world. Like, I'm biased, but like,
Thanks.
I get to, I mean, I work a lot, but I'm having an incredible time doing it. I'm traveling around the country with a professional football team. I live in one of the greatest cities in the country as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. The people here have been so incredibly welcoming, and I'm not from Tennessee. I would never pretend to be from Tennessee, but it makes me feel like this place is home. Let's screw around on the radio for 3 hours a day, chop it up with your buddies about sports. Like, people pay you money to do that?
We do it regardless.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts. The whole Deion Sanders thing, I'm kind of, bro, you see Deion Sanders? You see Deion Sanders? So I already know, and I got paid nothing for it. Don't worry. Nothing.
I'm telling you, it is hard to not, go to work every day with a smile on my face. And
that's awesome.
Everybody, no matter what you do, has things that wear on you and things that wear you down after a while, but to not just kind of take a step back and realize, man, you know how many other people are miserable every day when they go to work, and I'm talking about football on a regular basis. Like, that's just dumb.
It's a blessing.
It is, though, and you really, and I think not even you, but even some of the football players, guys are getting paid a lot of money to do what you love to do. Some people don't love ball, but when you love what you're doing, it really does come from a different place and makes you want to go to work every day.
I'm saying. I mean, I'm sure for you guys, when you're passionate about something, and for people in the audience out there, like to be able to realize those things, to realize those goals, and kind of apply it to your profession in that way. I think that's a unique kind of gratifying as far as like seeing yourself achieve those things. And so not lost on me by any stretch of the imagination. Get the opportunity to hang out with cool people and talk about this stuff in a more inside baseball type of way. And so I've always really, really loved that element of the job, and something that keeps me coming back.
So I want to get it more personal with, hey, kids, family, how's that looking? Like, what's personal life with Buck?
Ooh, personal life.
You in Nashville?
So Town, Nashville.
No, I mean, I am single as a motherfucker.
Ladies,
hey, ladies,
and that's just something that. For one reason or another, you try a couple things, and just with the work schedule, that is one element of the job that I think you can get sucked into. If I'm being completely honest, it's real easy to kind of duck into work and kind of make that a little more of your life than I think most people would. Try to separate it every once in a while, but man, it's just in a good spot with everything. No real ties at this point. No kids, and just kind of riding it out.
Because when let me tell you, when I see them on when I watch you on YouTube or I just see you on your Instagram, like you give this professionalism. That's like this man's grown. I figure he had family, kid, and that's why. And some of my people are asking, like, hey, ask if he has a girlfriend. I'm like, I said, guys, hey, I'll ask, but y'all gotta go make sure y'all follow him. If I had to do that, so they were really wanting to know about personal. I was like, well, I'm gonna ask, but I thought, hey, maybe just how you really bring yourself and how you really show yourself. I really thought like, hey, this man right here. But I love to see that in a single man that you're successful and you're doing what you love to do. I think that's big.
Well, and things change, right? Like just because that's the vibe right now doesn't mean that's always going to be the vibe. It wasn't, the vibe 3 years ago was in a couple different long-term relationships, and nothing wrong with that. You just see what works at the time and kind of keep it moving.
Go with the flow.
But as far as like sounding grown, I think I've been 45 years old my entire life, so I think that's just kind of the vibe I give off.
Hey, listen, I'm about to say,
you ain't a bad.
You know what I'm saying?
You get grown man. I was like, when I listened to it, even like I'm telling you, like just the way you sound, like it gave broadcast, it gave radio, but then it's like this the guy. If I ever get in some trouble, I need him to come in the court and talk for me.
Just say something. So question,
Your Honor.
So 3 years in.
Yeah.
Where's the next 5 to 10?
Man, so it'd be 7 for me actually coming up.
Okay.
This next season, but I've had the radio show for 3 years.
Gotcha.
Just about. It's just kind of. I always feel like it sounds like a cop-out answer, but I have no idea what our world is going to look like from a media landscape in the next 5 to 10. I love that there's more options than there's ever been for people to go to consume live sports in particular. I love that Apple and Amazon and Netflix are now looking at bidding on live sports rights and creating original content around that as a part of the programming, because we're all basically, we're all just an infomercial to get people from game to game,
right,
as far as our careers are concerned. But, I love doing talk radio. I love it here in Nashville, to be honest with you. If I could, and like I said, everything changes. But I think that at the time that I got to this city and where it was in its development and how much that seems to be in no way, shape, or form slowing down.
Right.
Like, I could think of a lot worse places to be and things to be doing than covering a team that's successful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about what that might look like
don't worry.
in the coming months. Living in a city that I love and doing what I love right now, it's hard to kind of look beyond the immediate, and maybe that's not the best career advice to give people, but I just kind of,
it's true,
just kind of keep track of where things are trending and kind of keep informed on the industry side of things and the media deals and all the stuff that could potentially impact that. Which is a long way of saying I got no idea what the hell our business is going to look like.
Even with the Titans, got a new stadium.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the works or planning. So next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I know they're going to be. I know parking is going to get a lot harder.
But we got to get some parking garages. Hopefully.
Yeah. I don't know what the entirety of the logistics are going to look like, but where the team is and where the franchise is, like I have seen that latest run that's allowing them to have the opportunity to build a new stadium, to be able to be financially sustainable in a way. And financial sustainability is something I'm sure, people in your audience would debate on the idea of the stadium and what that actually costs versus the benefits to a community.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of good arguments against it, but I guess just from the purpose of the team itself and the franchise itself, the run that they've had the last 6 or 7 years of having that kind of success and investing it back into the franchise is, as a sports fan, that I think is what fans want to see.
Yes.
Now you can debate, like I said, the economics of it on the community as the whole. But that, I think the Titans on that side of thing, they've done a lot of things wrong over their history, but they do seem
The
to
first
have,
contract.
right?
But
They
it's
do
all
seem
good.
to have things kind of trending in the right direction, and because of that, it makes me feel a lot better about what I'm at and who I'm covering.
That's awesome. I think that's big because when you're in Nashville, of course, and I know you have the Titans, but I also think about just all around sports in Tennessee right now.
Yeah.
You got the Grizzlies, you got the Preds right now. The Preds are big, and I went to a Preds game, and let me tell you, I'm a big Titan fan. I got them tatted on me. I love the Titans, but those Pred fans, man,
They're rowdy.
Wait a minute. I'm going to one-up you.
What's going on?
The soccer team.
Hey,
The soccer team.
No doubt.
We went this past week. Oh, my goodness. I mean, drenched in beer. As we go.
So wait, you're sitting in like the
You
supporters
know
section.
I got you.
Okay, yeah.
Second row next to the leader of the supporters, and we're going crazy. We scored a goal. I'm talking about drenched in this beer.
But that's to your point, right? I mean, the
Love
sports
it.
environment in Middle Tennessee right now, I don't know that it's ever been in a better place. And you mentioned the Grizzlies, and it's unfortunate what's going on with Ja right now.
Yeah,
true.
And we really don't know what's going on with Ja right now until
something
Adam
big.
Silver gets
It's-
through
it's-
the
it's
after the
big.
finals.
through the
We won't know
NBA
until after the
finals,
finals.
but big enough to be talking about it at a press conference before. I think that the landscape right now as a city, we can sustain it. And that's why Major League Baseball has really wanted to bring a team here or
that'd be dope.
pick up a
Nashville
franchise
side,
and
yeah.
move it here. The financial issues of that have been the biggest hurdle for them to overcome. But there's been no question about the way that sports fans in the state of Tennessee will support teams here.
Definitely.
Soccer, hockey, not necessarily something that you would say would have that kind of organic growth. And it took the Preds a little longer.
It did.
Certainly, I know that they were in danger of leaving for a period of time, and that was a whole controversy in and of itself. But football was never going to be a problem in the state
Never.
of Tennessee.
Once Nashville came, once the Titans came, after they left that little time in Memphis and came to Nashville, it was over.
Yeah.
They were ours. So it's great to see. And for me, I want to ask you about your show.
Yeah.
Your show. Before I was a DJ, before I was getting known, I was watching your show as a person going to work every day, and I was listening. And I was like, you know what, this is dope. I like that. And this is no shade to no one else that does it, but I like Tyler Rowland. I like some of the other ones that do it, but you don't sugarcoat it, but you keep it honest in the questions you ask, and I love that.
Well, I appreciate that. That's really kind of you. How I got to covering the Titans was really about as back-asswards as it could be, to be completely honest with you. So I've kind of learned how to do the job on the fly a little bit. Sports talk was not something I was really listening to before I decided that I wanted to do it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's helped me kind of maintain. There's not a ton of originality just in general because everything has been done in sports talk a million times over. But
right.
I do think that lack of background in it prior has helped me kind of keep it a little different than some of the stuff you might hear, or at least feel more genuine about what it is that I'm saying because I haven't been listening to somebody else's opinion before I formulated my
Facts.
own. And I think at least that's the thing that I'm trying to go for anyway.
I love it, and a lot of the people that I talked to beforehand like it because nobody likes nobody. And I can't speak for everybody, but a lot of people I talk to, when you actually ask those questions, these coaches and these different people, GMs, it's really, really like a humble but also a modest moment because you're getting your opinion to them. And it isn't coming off like, hey, someone, and I don't know your job, maybe someone's telling you or how you have to ask your questions, the format you do it, but the way you do it, it doesn't come off like not humble. It comes off, hey, this is what the people want to know, what's the plan, what we're doing. And I love that you don't ask, you're not afraid to ask those questions.
Well, and I think that there can be I think that in terms of like being antagonistic at press conferences, it doesn't necessarily serve anybody.
Right.
And I think that can upset fans sometimes because they want you to ask the questions with the same kind of passion that they are upset about the things that they want the questions answered about. And it's not necessarily important for them to understand that it's not my job to be as emotional about what it is that I'm asking as you are.
Correct.
Because that just comes off as, I think, media people can sound dismissive if your tone isn't right to the people that they're tasked with talking to and providing information for and asking questions on behalf of. So I want to make sure that people feel that they're represented to a lack of degree, but also understanding that I have to have a diplomatic working relationship with these people because I get, you get to log off Twitter and I'm coming back the next day to deal with Mike Vrabel or Jeff Simmons or Derrick Henry or whomever it might be that, is on the receiving end of that day's line of questioning.
And that's always big because when I listen, I always that's something I do every time before I go to work. I'm always listening to the interviews, like OTA training camp, or even after the games. I listen to them the next day. Whether if we win, I might listen to them right then. But if we lose, I listen to them the next day.
Look, come down.
Right. But like for example, I think Paul gives them a hard time sometimes. I think Mike Vrabel just listened to him, and Paul he had asked those questions. Like Mike's just like, oh my goodness. But I like it because everyone has their own personality.
Yeah.
When like from Toronto to you, everyone has their own personality when they ask those questions and the type of questions. And I like that you guys. I don't know if it's an order you guys go in, but it's like we're getting you ready for that one person that's going to ask that one question, but you've already built up. And I like how you guys do that, though.
No, there's no order. We're all elbowing each other in the neck to ask the next question. We're just it's like the seagulls in Finding Nemo. Mine, we're just yelling at them up there. But we do, the cool thing about the media group here locally is most of them have been together since like the Tennessee Titans were the Houston Oilers. Like a lot of people have carried over, and then there's some, for lack of a better term, newer blood. Like Tehran was a more recent acquisition. Myself in the last 6 to 7 years, what the Tennessean has been turning over as far as kind of keeping people in that beat writer role. But I think for the most part, like we all understand the dynamic of how to work off one another in those press conferences, because at the end of the day, we are all there to ask largely the same questions. Maybe somebody has a different, particularly in a post game, right? We're all generally going for the same things, though, so we have to be able to like take cues off one another in real time while Mike Vrabel is tired of listening to our shit.
Yeah, and I see that, and I like it though because you guys really do a great job of that. Especially only time I feel like it's like ugly for me. For example, let's go back to that Bengals game when Tannehill threw the 3 interceptions. That press, but it's that press conference though. It's the end of the season. Anytime at the end of the season, it's always hard. But that end of the season when you're going in and like the questions are like, it's. I feel like that was maybe a hard time to be in that position for you guys because you don't want to come off as, hey, you fucked up. But at the same time, you have to ask those questions and the people want to know as well. And it's just like for me, like how do you have the heart, I guess, or the mindset to ask those type of questions sometimes?
Well, I think, it depends, right? You got to have the ability to read the room, I would think. And by the way, that's not something that media has been, and I say that as somebody myself, like it's not something that we're always terribly adept at, right? We miss the mark on some of that stuff, especially in the post-game locker room. It can be a pretty delicate balance in emotional moments like that with guys who God knows what they've been putting in their bodies or sticking themselves with to get through the rigors of a now 17-game regular season. And, it culminates, for example, this year, Jeffrey Simmons sobbing with us at a post-game locker room because the way that they lost to the Jags, Jeff's had an ankle injury that's required pain management for the better part of 8 weeks and apparently has had corrective surgery, 3 months of rehab since then. It still isn't quite right. So, you have to, when you go in there and ask them about, hey, not you fucked up, but why did you fuck up?
Right.
You have to kind of make sure that you're still giving them enough of their space to process, to kind of understand that, all right, this is a hugely emotional thing. What you do for a living is hugely emotional, not just for the physical, but the mental toll as well. And while it is important for us to ask you these questions, let's do this in the best way possible to make sure that everybody can get through this without there being problems. And sometimes there are problems. Sometimes you piss dudes off. Like Darren Bates. I don't know if you guys listen to Raw Room podcast.
Yes.
Darren Bates.
Darren Bates.
I love that dude to death. That is the first pro athlete to check my ass because I was fucking up in the locker room. Like I wasn't respecting the space in a way that the athletes felt like it needed to be respected.
Okay.
And we get 45 minutes of locker room time 3 times a week throughout the course of the practice week. And, like, that's their spot, right? That's where they're chilling before practice. That's where they're chilling after practice. That's, where people are getting together there. You can get away from the coaches and just kind of be. And then they let the vultures in, right, with us.
Right.
And, just things like complaining about the music being too loud while I'm trying to do an interview and him not appreciating that, right? And not necessarily understand and not doing it in a way that was direct, not talking to him about it before or something like that, but doing it in a passive-aggressive way that I didn't realize that anybody else was going to be paying attention to. Right. Like 2 years in on the job, and then all of a sudden the music's getting louder and louder and louder over the course of a couple of weeks. And one of the PR people for the Titans comes up to me and is like, "Hey, Darren says he wants to talk to you." Like, who, me?
Wait a minute.
For what? Because I didn't know that he had seen anything on social media. I didn't know that the music, being an issue in the locker room was because we had some kind of underlying beef. And then all of a sudden he's, putting his arm around me and being like, "Listen, this is not your spot. You don't live here. We live here. And however this is going to go, understand that if you have an issue, you need to come talk to somebody about that." And that was not something that, it was just a small moment, not necessarily the biggest blow up or the biggest infraction or anything like that, but just kind of like, hey, you can't be as casual in these guys' world as you would be, in your own. This is not your space, and you have to understand how to respect it.
And that's real. Darren OG, old Memphis man, he's funny. I love their podcast, what they got going on over there.
Him and Jalen got it right.
They got it going on with the sports. And I actually like Delaney Walker on there. I think Delaney needs to go on there with them, like get a spot figured out because they're funny. As
Delaney's unreal too, man.
I love it. Like, and even that's one of my favorite podcasts. And then also Bussin' with the Boys. I love Taylor shit.
Yeah. No, they're both shitheads, but
Taylor gave some shit.
Always, no. Taylor, hell, I had to lose 52 pounds because Taylor kept telling me I looked like a traffic cone out of practice one day. It cracked me up.
No.
But no, I'm saying it's but like those kind of like that's relationships that you've built over time. That kind of ability to take shit from dudes and give it back to them in a way that is going to be casual. I think that's something that. You can turn into a productive working relationship and also understand how to kind of like manage those relationship dynamics. I think is something that a lot of media people may not necessarily. What's the word that I'm looking for? Have that kind of self-awareness. And I'm not saying that I'm terribly self-aware. That's something that I've had to learn over the course of my time doing it. But I think that. Because of how young I was when I got the opportunity to cover a pro team, I was 22 years old, first time with zero experience and really not a lot of exposure. Awesome. Well, like I said, it was a back-ass which way that I got my job, but having not a lot of exposure to people like Darren Bates. There was nobody like Darren Bates in my high school. You know what I'm saying? No. Like I went to small town Indiana. Like I don't know how people from Memphis or people in Oakland or all kinds of different places that exist in an NFL locker room. Like that was something that I had to learn and kind of understand. Hey, you got blind spots you didn't even know you had. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to understand how to talk to people in a way, or at least how to recognize what you don't know before you go and approach these guys and ask them questions about a thing that they know infinitely more about than you do.
A lot of EQ and emotional intelligence with that, but it seems like you picked it up pretty well though, because you with the success you've had and the conversations you've had though.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope that I do my job in a way that's good and more importantly, I think respectful, because athletes don't need people like me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, the world for them has changed so much to where Lawan and Bates and Pat McAfee, who just got a $100 million deal from ESPN.
Yes.
Shout out to Pat. God bless him and his boys for securing a bag from the mothership. But like, these guys don't need us for the platform anymore. You don't need to come on talk radio and do an interview to be able to reach your fan base. You can have your own setup.
Draymond Green.
Right? Draymond.
Draymond, yeah.
Draymond has massed, and whatever you think of Draymond has understood that better than very, very few people even in that world. But I think Pat was kind of on the forefront of it, understanding there's how much money in these podcasts. If you're Von Miller, Russell Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of changed the way that I think a lot of old school media people are used to handling athletes versus somebody who's maybe a little bit closer in age to them might recognize that, oh, you can have a much bigger audience than me as soon as you walk out of this room if you want to, and just pop on a podcast or do a Twitter live or something like that. And it's got to be a little bit more collaborative here than in years past. It's a necessary correction because media was able to completely control the narrative for the longest time in a way that was unfair to professional athletes for the same reasons that I was just talking about. A lot of media people don't have the backgrounds that these athletes do. And now they're able to tell their own stories in a way that, maybe it's not the most objective from time to time, and you don't let everything about your story as an athlete out there, but you get to control more of your narrative in a way that you haven't been in previous years.
Yeah, have more. I feel like to piggyback off that, to have more of a, for example, a relationship, but also you did it. I would want to listen to someone that's, if they've done it before, they have a little more pull. But at the same time, I feel like media won't go nowhere. It's kind of like customer service. There'll always be someone that has to answer that phone and be there for the people. And I feel like the same thing with media. People want to hear from media. Just like, for example, even though Nashville, we have great media. Tennessee, we have great media. But think about like Philly, out there, Boston, some of those places where the media is like New York, where the media is always at not at their neck, but they're gonna ask those questions. They're gonna be more blunt. I feel like as long as you got places like that, media will always be big because that's gonna be the front runner of your media and your conversation. And then I feel like the people that have like the pivot, Pat McAfee, Draymond, that's where they can bring their experiences and bring the level of execution of what they can bring on a personal level. And I think that's why they'll always be there.
No, I agree. I don't think it's going anywhere. I just think the role has changed.
Oh,
like, in a way that the athletes have always been thought of as more disposable. I'm sure as hell more disposable. You put I like to think that I'm competent enough at my job, but you could put a lot of people in my time slot
and just go talk
and get big numbers because that's Titans radio. Like, that's where you're going if you're going to listen to the Tennessee Titans. Like, that's a platform that has staying power. It's got both the major teams in town with the Vols and the Titans. So if you're a fan of football, and most people are, that's where you're going. Like, I think there is a recognition or a lack thereof from people in media who have been doing it for a longer period of time that we matter more than the platform. And I think that is something that has been very much proven to not be the case unless you are one of these athletes who have needed it to a certain extent. Shannon Sharp just left that show on Fox.
Yes.
Shannon doesn't need Skip for nothing anymore. Shannon Sharp is his own person, but Shannon Sharp is also the same guy that got fired from CBS Sports Studio show. Like, he wasn't the same dude then as he is now. So there's levels to it, and there's always going to be a place for people like us, for a lack of a better term, but it's just kind of understanding that it's very much evolving, and I don't think it's ever been evolving at quite as fast a rate as it is right now.
So, question.
Yeah.
The wide receiver room. What's going on?
Oh, we finna get and talking about them Titans.
Now you know. We got a few drafts from last year.
Yeah.
We got rid of AJ. Yeah, that hurt.
The way that you so tenderly put your hand over your heart that way.
That hurt.
Still feel that.
He was an animal.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds bad. I was so happy what they did to us when he came home.
A little bit.
I know it sounds bad.
Really?
I was so happy because as a Titans fan, my history of the Titans, we've gotten rid of every great player from backwards trade, from Steve McNair to it's just like everyone. Oh, we gonna lock Steve McNair out the facility. He's Steve McNair.
Yeah, I know.
Even if you have something that bad, don't lock him out.
Yeah.
And then report about it.
It's a
Every time it's something like
it really does
hurts.
seem like for as short a, and Houston Oilers go back to 1960, but the Tennessee Titans about 25 years old. So like for that short quote unquote period of time, they had a lot of kind of pointed emotional moments with players like Steve McNair,
Yes.
players like AJ Brown, Derek Mason,
Eddie George,
Samari Roll, Eddie George, like
Javon Curse.
Javon
Everything
Curse,
was
like there's a lot of
go.
that stuff out there, and a lot of fan bases deal with that certainly more in the modern era when players have never moved around as much as they do right now. But I'm curious to hear you guys say that about AJ and the Philly game, because I mean certainly I do think that forced a lot of the change that you're seeing.
It forced a
right
lot of
now.
change in what we saw now. But let me tell you, I as a football fan, and I love the Titans as a football fan, I wanted to beat don't get to it, I wanted to beat the Eagles, but when he had that great game, I said, you know what? This is what we need to see.
When he takes the towel and is whipping the goalpost afterwards because he said, I love you, but I got to get you.
I gotta get you. And for us, and for me, again, I loved it. I loved it. I just didn't want to win a Super Bowl ring. That's all I was saying. I said, don't go get a ring.
I didn't care for once.
I didn't want to get a ring, but I wanted him to beat us. If it came down to it, I wanted to have a good game. I didn't want him to beat us, but I wanted him to have a great game. I'd be lying.
No, I wanted him to destroy us.
I just wanted him to have a good game.
I wanted him to come on and say, this is what you get.
And I like
this
that.
This is like what you deserve.
And this is what you deserve, and he did that.
He did.
He did that.
And I'm happy for him.
He did that. He left nothing on the plate.
He got his money and beat the Titans in the same year and went to the Super Bowl in the same year. I loved it for him. I'm happy for him. But when we talk about this wide receiver room, and I, of course, listen to your podcast, and I want to talk deeper into it. Is it an issue at the wide receiver room right now?
Hell yeah. What do you mean?
No cap. I love. Hey, this is
No
what I'm
cap,
talking
no
about.
cap.
I love that.
There's no cap about that. That is as unproven a position group on any roster that you'll find in the NFL.
Thank you.
Mike Vrabel has more receiving touchdowns than the entire collection of wide receivers.
Oh my!
The Tennessee Titans career touchdown.
That's true.
And Mike's got 10, but 10 is not that many.
Ain't that many. No.
So are we gonna go get that old guy?
Your boy Hopkins? I mean,
probably not. It's the Titans, so we're not going to do it.
So here's the problem. All right. There are many reasons why DeAndre Hopkins would not come here
100%.
that you would have to overpay to an extent that it is going to cause you damage if you go that far and be above and beyond. Now, I will say indisputably he would help this team immediately more than any other. And I think, by the way, I think that Treylon Burks is going to be a good player.
He's going to be a dog this year.
I think, provided
the
health that he holds up, Treylon Burks is somebody who I believe can make a legitimate difference. I think Kyle Phillips can be that too. They have to stay healthy. There's no way for them to really, given those two in particular with the on-field injuries, there's nothing that they can really do from a strength and conditioning, from a training standpoint, to prevent turf toe concussion and a busted shoulder. But I think those two, and the approach that they took to the draft without getting another wide receiver until the 7th round, who may or may not make the team, is that they think they've got a better collection of players than we think they have. Now, I don't think you can sell anybody that when you've been the franchise that just traded away A.J. Brown and is now trying to sell me this.
This.
But I think that there is absolutely an issue right now with the amount of talent that they have, given that their best chance to be competitive this year is getting that offense in a position where they can't lead the league in 3 and outs. They can't have Ryan Tannehill on his ass every other snap. They can't subject Derrick Henry to the kind of physical punishment that is going to take depreciate him even faster, even though he is so singular as a talent. It's been my great fortune to be able to cover a guy who I think has legitimate Hall of Fame potential, but they're in a weird spot where they're betting a lot on a group of guys that has really no track record of success in the NFL.
Are you saying they're betting on them to try to win now? Because I don't think the plan is even to win now. You drafted the quarterback last year. To draft another quarterback this year with a wide receiver group that's all young. That sounds like a new core that doesn't have Tannehill or Derrick Henry in sight.
This is probably the last year for both of them here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the reality of the situation. But I would say that there's two different ways to look at this.
Okay.
There is the way that the football team is going to look at it from the coaching staff side is that our job is to go out there and win as many football games as humanly possible and future, how the rookie quarterback salary fits into Jeff Simmons negotiations and all these different things. The long term, there is a consideration, but once the season starts, that's over for the coaching staff, for the players. It's about how many can you win right now and how can you go about being the best team in your division to secure a playoff spot and then try and give yourself an opportunity to legitimately compete. Because the 2019 Titans had no damn business being in the AFC Championship game.
Not none.
Starting 2-4. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely not.
It looked like a disaster. And then all of a sudden it was one of the most impressive runs that this franchise has ever seen. Football's like that. So while it may not look to people like they are looking to be Super Bowl competitive right now.
Okay.
They just want to give themselves the opportunity to get in the playoffs, and then they'll talk to you about what it is that it's going to take. And Mike Vrabel's experience in those scenarios, and how he can kind of get the most out of a collection of pieces and parts that you may not think is as talented as what's on the other side. But that's something that I do think they should get the benefit of the doubt for, even though it looked like the bottom fell out last year.
Definitely. You know what? We're going to just say that the bottom fell out. I like how you said that.
Yeah, there's 7 straight losses. I was there for all of them, boys.
And that was hard. And for me, with the wide receiver room, how it is, I'm going to have my dark horse player this year. On the offensive side, I'm going to give one on the defense side, but the offensive side will be Chig. I believe Chig Okonkwo will be that man this year. And I actually, at the rookie, we also got the other tight end we got.
Josh Wiley.
I think both of them, as a collective, is going to pick up more slack than what we really think. I don't know how the other receivers will do, but just talking tight ends, I think that's going to be the dark horse players right there that's going to do a lot of work for us with this so-called offense they're talking that's a little bit more faster in tempo. I would love to see it, and I can't wait to see it. But I think the tight ends are going to have a big role, and they're going to have to really play well for the offense to really do what it wants to do.
They've got enough to give them a chance to compete in a division where Trevor Lawrence is not a proven commodity, even though he has all the talent in the world, right? It's not. It's like NBA Finals, right? Jimmy Butler is not out there with the most talented collection of players. But they have been a better team throughout the course of the East, and the East is easier to get through than the West. Nobody's disputing that. And the Nuggets may end up winning because Jokic
is going crazy.
Is one of the craziest basketball players I've ever seen in my life. But Jimmy and a bunch of dudes that are undrafteds, or the Cody Zellers and Victor Oladipos of the world that are just hanging on at the end of their careers, they have found ways to maximize their abilities by nature of playing as a team. And this is the ultimate team sport in football. And I do think that Mike Vrabel understands that conceptually, even if we may not see it or we may not be able to articulate it, or it looks like it's something that should, they don't have any business being on the same field as the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, like any of these other teams. And yet,
not on paper,
they're still there, even losing 7 straight games. I don't want to, it's a loser's argument to say, moral victories and stuff like that, but the amount of injuries that they've been dealing with and still keeping games close despite the losses, I thought that's a testament to what the coaching staff has been able to do and how much the players respond to that particular coach. He's as good as anybody Tennessee's had.
I like Mike. Mike is tough. He's the epitome of what you would want in a football coach when it comes to your players. That's why I like him, because I saw a little snippet you posted where they were out there, they're on the sleds. And I was listening. Mike Vrabel's talking that shit. I said, "Yo, that's what you want in a football coach." And everyone's different. Like Andy Reid, I don't see Andy Reid talking to him like that. But Andy Reid is an offensive genius. But I feel like he doesn't have to get cut edge like that. But Mike Vrabel's that guy that He's
Who gonna be
he's
with-
like, he's like Stone Cold Steve Austin of the league. He's gonna talk some shit, drink some beers with you, and say, "Hey, we're gonna get it done one way or another, however you like it." Because I
gonna
said
whoop
so,
some ass
and I
drink
love
some
it.
beers.
That video you're talking about, the new players, guys like Andre Dillard, who they signed from the Eagles, or Aziz Al-Shaair, the linebacker from the Niners, are talking about how different the conditioning is here in Tennessee, because Mike Vrabel runs sled drills in mid-May and nobody else does. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's out there, for those of you who haven't seen the video that we just referenced. He's out there running these sled push-off drills where you got to fall forward and dive as you push the sled forward. And you hear somebody, it's on the Titans social media, you hear somebody in the background chirping at Vrabel. He's giving them the rules of the sled drill, and you hear somebody say in the background, "Says who?" And without missing a beat, whips around, "Says fucking me."
Me, goddammit. Yes. And if that don't get you hyped
So
the fuck
fast,
up,
like the way, the speed with which that man turned on his heel and looked whoever said that to him in the face, like he runs the show.
I love it.
That is alpha. I mean, the most competitive, the highest, evolution of the alpha meathead. Mike is that, and he runs that in a way. But he's also very, I think, attuned to like the guys, their personal lives, treating it as a family. He really, I think, takes the best part of where he may have come from in New England, but also does not necessarily apply the coldness of the way that the Patriots organization has operated and made players feel not great about things on the other side. It's not perfect, and I'm sure he has his limitations, right? Andy Reid is an offensive genius. I don't necessarily know that defense matters the way in professional football that it did 5 years ago, right? So there may be a ceiling there, but of all the available options, I mean, there's nobody that they would do better with right now than Mike Vrabel.
I love it. I love Mike. I love what he's doing. And that kind of gets me going into my next question, though. Mike Vrabel, he doesn't, and Titans organization doesn't give off a lot with their PR. They're really, really held in what they're doing. I kind of like that, too.
I don't.
There's times I like it. Like, there's times like he's not going to let us know. That's okay.
No, I got you.
He's going to be like, hey, you're going to figure out who the starting lineup is come week one. We're going to let you know who it is. And
Mike, do you have any interest in DeAndre Hopkins? We'll let you know.
We'll let you know. Hey, I love it. They don't let you know. And then you get that Bleacher Report, ESPN, oh, snap, we did it. And then you're hyped up.
Yeah.
But going into more of the quarterback conversation right now, I want to lead into this. You got Tannehill, of course, Malik Willis, and, of course, my man, Will Levis. I like Will Levis.
Wait, he's your man?
I like Will Levis.
Because the rest of the state, the rest of your Tennessee brethren do not believe that he is your man.
I like Will because he played for Kentucky. That's why I don't like him. That's what it is.
There's some bias.
Is that or is it
fan.
the cockiness? Or
I like him. But I'm a Michigan fan, so it doesn't bother me when it's Kentucky, whoever get it, don't bother me. But I like Will Levis, and my thing is, by week one, after OTAs, training camp, preseason, everyone's healthy. New offense, everybody got to learn everything. Will Levis start? Yes or no, and why?
No, he's not. He's not anywhere ready in a way that would force you to put him out there. There's no benefit over Ryan Tannehill of him starting right away if you mean to be actually competitive. Their first 6 weeks are as brutal as any.
Yes,
in the first couple of weeks, and certainly with Will Levis, it's not like Anthony Richardson, right, in Indianapolis, where that guy is going to start because he has to play football. He's played so little actual football that there is a question there is enough uncertainty around him to whether, okay, is he going to get better? Or is this something that, is there a ceiling to him that we don't necessarily realize beyond his otherworldly athletic traits, right? He's got to play. He's got to get the reps. Will Levis played a lot of football. He started a lot of football games. There's not necessarily an urgency to get him out there with a veteran on the roster that way. And no situation is created, I think, equal for quarterback development, right? Because people will cite, well, Patrick Mahomes sat for a year and look at him. Yeah. Well, he was dropped into a team that was already going to the playoffs on a regular basis, and it's not like Pat isn't phenomenal. He obviously is. But because he was dropped into a situation that was more stable around him with a support system like Alex Smith, who Pat Mahomes still credits a ton of his success to, it's not the same as what C.J. Stroud is getting ready to go through in Houston, right? Yeah. So I think for Tennessee specifically and for Will Levis specifically, as they try and identify the issues that caused him to fall out of the first round, there's not necessarily a need to throw him into the fire right away, because he will struggle at whatever point he gets out there. That's natural. It's really hard to play professional quarterback in the NFL. But Ryan Tannehill still gives this team the best chance to win games. And, I think fans might feel the need to look at it and say, well, it doesn't benefit them to win, potentially 9 games, right? And get a middling draft pick, maybe sneak into the playoffs and lose to
first round.
Right. You have no idea. So you have no idea what that is going to end up looking like. So to take that approach with it is, I think, as a fan, that it might be beneficial to start the rookie and to lose more games to get a better draft pick.
Yes.
What is the purpose of playing a football season then? For what?
There wouldn't be one. That's the thing, because Mike Vrabel's not going to tank. They're not going to tank. I don't think that's part of the plan.
No, I had Rand Carthon on the radio show, the new GM, at the Combine, and I asked him about the concept of tanking in professional football. And he looked at me and said, how do you think Mike Vrabel would respond if I walked into his office and asked him, should we think about tanking this year?
I already know.
Says fucking me.
So are we done with Willis?
Man, Malik's in a tough spot. And I don't see a justification for him being on the roster by the time the regular season starts right now.
Even with the new rule, with having the third quarterback active.
This would be the best team to test case that for the regular season.
Okay.
But I don't think that this is a regular season rule.
Okay.
The spirit of the rule is for the playoffs, and I think the teams that make the playoffs will then add that additional quarterback to the active roster. Because this can't be somebody on game day who is brought up from the practice squad. This has to be a third quarterback on your 53-man roster that can be like a ghost player and not take up a game day spot.
Would be active because of injury.
Right. So you would still have to keep 3, which teams really do not do.
Don't do it
on a regular basis. San Francisco has, and Rand Carthon comes from San Francisco. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Malik may make enough strides by the time we see him at the end of his second training camp to where this is a legitimate discussion, but there's no question that Levis is going to give them a better chance to run their offense than Malik did when last we saw him. And I think you understood that when they benched him for Josh Dobbs, and there became a conversation about, well, they didn't even give him enough opportunity, or, I think in the world of a guy like Will Levis and a guy like Malik Willis, there can also be a racial component that people try to factor into it. And by the way, some of those concerns are real given the way that black quarterbacks have been handled in the league year in and year out. We're not that far removed from Bill Polian trying to tell me that Lamar Jackson was a wide receiver. That's a Hall of Fame executive having one of the biggest misevaluations that I've ever seen in my life. So when people bring that to the table, that's not something that I'm going to dismiss by any stretch of the imagination, especially when the criticism is, well, he's not operating the offense. Understand that it's not because of the mental capacity or because of the, any kind of stigma that you would associate with a black athletic quarterback, but because he comes from a completely different world at Liberty than Will Levis did with NFL coaching at Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily about, okay, can he be a successful quarterback? He may well be.
Does that in the system?
It's about how quickly can he play.
Okay.
And if Ryan Tannehill gets a bum ankle, can we throw him out there and still win games? The answer was no. So now they have to find a better option, and I think it's tough for people to kind of take that in pieces, right? Because there's a lot there, and I don't blame people for being overly passionate about Malik and the idea that he may not have had the best opportunity to succeed here. But he got a lot more playing time than many quarterbacks in his situation have. Josh Dobbs, who he was benched for, waited 6 years before he got his first NFL start.
Yeah.
Malik had 3 last year and played in 8 games. So it's a complicated situation. And like I said, that new rule, I think this would be a team that would be worth keeping an eye on for it. But, by percentage chance, it is really, really unlikely that Malik Willis is on this roster in September.
And that's great. That's great to know, because I tell you, with that rule, like you said, Ron Carthon, 49ers relationship, I mean, the 49ers, like, they would have needed that rule last year because they came out and didn't have nobody. So I hope it's not for regular. I hope it's for regular season. I would love for that personally, because I think we need to keep 3, and I would like to have a QB problem like, hey, they both are pretty good. Can we ship one
Sure.
off? We're gonna keep. I would love that to happen.
They both have a lot to prove, by the way. Malik Willis is still the backup quarterback until further notice.
Further notice.
Like there's not anything that has removed him through a couple of OTAs. Like it's very, very early in the offseason. We'll have training camp here in a couple of weeks, but there's nothing that has moved Malik Willis behind Will Levis right now. And I think people are very quick to make that assumption, even though that does seem like the most natural cause of events.
Do you? So that goes into. I have two more questions going into this segment.
Sure.
Then. So does that go into where will the Titans be come January? Are we going to make the playoffs? Do you feel it's a playoff team, or do you feel like, because me personally, the competitive person in me, I want to see the Titans win. I want us to win a Super Bowl. That's the goal, right? I want to be able to take my son. He's here now. I'm like, hey, son, Titans Super Bowl chance. Woo. But being realistic for this year, knowing the cap situation we got going into next year, would it hurt if we did start the rookie quarterback, win 4 or 5 games? And I know Titan fans, I know you ain't gonna like this. But man, there's a receiver out there in Ohio State right now that I just got my eyes on. I would love.
You and the rest of the league.
Man, so you playing GM now?
I'm just saying.
GM, head coach, intern coach.
I'm just saying. There's a guy in Ohio right now. I'm a Michigan fan. I hate Ohio State. Let me tell you, there's a guy in Ohio right now that I wouldn't mind being a Titan. And I'm just saying, if we did have to start a rookie quarterback or two, and if we did technically trade Derrick Henry before the trade deadline, and we wanted to get some stock, because right now we don't got a lot of draft capital going in next year because of what we did. I'm just saying, would y'all be opposed if we did that and we didn't only win 5 games? I don't want us to lose. I love us, but I'm just saying if it happened.
Bucko,
how would you feel about it?
How would I feel, man? I got 3 hours of talk radio to do it today. I'd be pissed. What do you mean?
Lord.
I don't want to schlep off to London for a 5-win football team. Get out of here. No, but I understand. You're thinking about it the way that a lot of fans are, right?
Being real.
But again, I think there's a tendency, like you hear this a lot with quarterback classes, right? Well, next year's quarterback class is going to be better.
Yeah,
Spencer
Caleb,
Rattler at South Carolina was regarded as a future first overall pick, and then all of a sudden he's getting benched at Oklahoma and he's having to transfer. And
Yep.
those things can change very quickly. So then there's also, if we're going to use Marvin Harrison Jr., the Ohio State wide receiver as the example, your team also has to draft him.
That's true.
The team that doesn't terribly seem to have an urgency about the wide receiver position has to be trusted to then draft the wide receiver that you would very much like to see as a Tennessee Titan.
If the Titans passed up on that man, boy, let me tell you
I'm not saying they would. I'm just saying I was shocked to see them wait until the 7th round this year, and it's a much worse wide receiver.
They got my man. They got my man's out of UT. Being a guy from West Tennessee, that's my man at UT Martin. He's pretty fast. I like him. I think I don't know if he'll make the team. I hope he does. But at the end of the day, I didn't like that. I thought there were so many after. Oh, you see, we're talking about the draft class. Oh my goodness! See, first round. Hey, I love Peter. Perfecto.
That's what you need.
Perfecto.
That's what you need.
Second round. Hey, I want to go ahead and move on and we go get the quarterback. Will. Okay.
You need a plan.
We need a plan. Now that 3rd round pick, we ain't got Taj yet. Listen, let me tell you, I thought there was some other running backs out there, but I like him. He's fast. He's shifty. I don't know how I feel about the so-called injury. He said he's good. He said in the interview, he said, I'm good.
He said he's healthy.
He's healthy. That's what he said. All right, cool, you're healthy.
Sure. Very productive last year at Tulane.
Yes, he was. So I'm going to let it be. Cool. So then, hey, we go ahead in 4th round. We pop out with the tight end, correct?
Yeah, no 4th round pick because of
4th round,
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones, correct.
That's the
Excuse
Julio Jones draft pick.
Which we saw that did this, and
shout out Julio.
Shout out to Julio. Julio, we love you still. If you want to come back, come on.
What's the AJ Brown TikTok? Julio. That didn't last.
5th round.
Josh Wiley.
There we go. Tight end. I like him. Gonna be all right. I'm okay with
Former
that.
wide receiver.
Hey, got hands. I'm okay. But then 6th round, we was another lineman.
Jalen Duncan.
Yes. Big body.
Left tackle.
Maryland, correct?
Yes.
Big body. I'm okay with
Athletic traits off the charts. Technique needs work.
that. But it'll be all right. It's a project. I like him. He come in, take O-line looks good, right? But I can say he can come in and help out.
It looks better. I don't know if it looks good, but it definitely looks better.
And then 7th round, you go get my man out UT Martin.
It felt like a troll.
The Lebanon man. The Lebanon man.
And it's not his fault, by the way. Like, he's going to have a lot of pressure on him. He's a 7th round wide receiver. He has no business having any expectations put on him whatsoever. And because he plays the position that he does, and this is a fan base that has pretty strong emotions about the wide receiver position, as I think we've just discussed.
Yes, we do.
He is going to be looked at in ways that not a lot of 7th round rookies get looked at.
You finna come play.
At best, like if he had the career of NWI, right?
Yes.
Who is the scourge of a lot of Titans fans because he represents a lot of the problems that you have with the wide receiver, even though it's not his fault, right? No, he's just out there trying to do a job.
Nick Westbrook.
But if my man Colton Dow tops out as the next Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, that's a win.
It is.
And Titans fans are going to look at it that way.
And they're not. They won't look at it that way. They're going to look at it like, hey, you need to come in and produce like this a little better. But, hey, I'm all for it if Dow comes in and he does his job, and I hope he does. But for me, we got some good free agents, though, undrafted free agents, though. My man's out of Georgia.
Kearis Jackson.
I like him.
Yeah.
I think he needs to come in and really get to it. It's really open game for anybody in the wide receiver room right now. It really is.
No, for sure. I mean, and that's the way to look at it. Like, they have, and the Georgia offense doesn't really use the wide receivers that way because those tight ends are crazy.
Yeah.
The tight ends are absolutely unreal.
Monsters.
Not just Darnell Washington that came out, but 19, I'm blanking on his name, stud, true sophomore last year, Brock Bowers.
Bowers.
Brock
I thought
Bowers
was a receiver, and that man's out there going crazy.
No, that's a Marvin Harrison Jr. type where the scouts are going to Georgia Pro Day to watch the guys that are coming out next year as opposed to these guys. We can get him
if we don't get Marvin. I ain't mad if we go get him. I like him too.
But I would say, as far as where they are with their offense. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's about the coaching. I mean, the talent is not ideal. They still have a lot of depth issues where you thought they might, they've done as much as humanly possible given their financial constraints because the Tannehill contract, because of Julio. You don't have a 4th round pick because of Julio. These are things that have built up over time that, for people who don't think the salary cap is real, for example, it's like saying your credit report or your credit score isn't real. That stuff is coming due at a certain point, even if you can get away with it for a couple years leading up. You're seeing the consequences of that now in a way that's restricted them from spending on top free agents this offseason, but trying to spend the least amount of money across the most amount of players because they just went through 2 seasons where they've used 91 and 86 bodies on, the average roster, I think, goes through 60.
60 of them. We've had so many people because of injuries, so it could go left or right. So this goes into my last one before we go into Left on Red with Bucko, which is going to be really fun for him. I can't wait. And then we're going to final remarks.
I'm fired up.
It goes. I want to touch on this on the defense real quick. A player that I've been watching, and I've been really hoping for, Caleb Farley, which we haven't really got to really talk about, but we got the new cornerback coach who's giving a lot of energy, Chris Harris. I love it. I love what he's doing. I love the energy. I love the enthusiasm of technique, right? I've heard him talk about technique and fundamentals. So for me,
got Kerry Coombs energy out there.
Yes, and when Coombs was with us, hey, let me tell you, because he went back to Ohio, but I think he should have stuck around. When you're talking technique, I think that's really what we need to really speak on when it comes to our corners, because there's sometimes we're not fundamental. What's going on with Caleb? Do you feel like Caleb's going to be – because this is all in right here for us this year. We went and got Sean Murphy Bunting, who I like. And when you just look at the corners right now, Christian Fulton, Sean, and then Roger McQuarrie, and then Elijah Molden. But Elijah Molden's talking about maybe going to safety because of the KB situation. We don't know just yet. We'll see. Do you feel like it's really Caleb's spot to get and win this year and to have it? Because we expected him to be the number one corner, or at least number one, number two outside. What are your thoughts?
I don't think there's anybody lower on the depth chart than Caleb Farley. Wow. I don't think I trust him out there. I mean, he played a substantial amount of snaps this year, and I know his injury situation. Again, you want to talk about guys who have potential derailed because their body just lets them down, right? And you want to be cognizant of that while understanding that this is a sport that is not forgiving in that way. And if you're out there, you are expected to produce no matter how you physically feel. Caleb Farley, though, I don't question confidence in professional athletes because I think, whomever you are, whatever you do, you're going to be confident to agree about what it is that you do. If you know that you've been the best high school athlete, the best college athlete like you, I don't question confidence necessarily in professional athletes, but I do think that there is something there that he's not able to mentally put together between trusting himself physically and then trusting his technique. He's got the tools. He's Jalen Ramsey's size. It's
got the speed.
It's crazy. He's got the physical and athletic tools to be the kind of player that you're talking about. The reason why the rest of the NFL thought that he could have been the top corner prospect had it not been for the back injury and fell into the 20s the way that it did. But last year was an indictment of him. Yeah. It should have been his opportunity with injuries that they had to get out there and show the coaching staff something. And it was squandered for him. And I hate that for him. I really enjoy him. It's nothing about the person. I know he works plenty hard, but right now Caleb Farley is coming into a season where I would look at him below any of the names that you just mentioned, including Murphy Bunting, who just got here.
I like Murphy. I think Murphy will start. I think for me, when you look at, just the secondary, it would be Christian Fulton, Sean Murphy Bunting, and that slot Roger McQuarrie. And the fourth could be Elijah Morton if he's not with Amani Hooker in the back because KB is not there. But if KB is here, then Elijah Morton could come in and play some that sub as well.
You probably see Kevin Byard this week.
Good. So that's
mandatory minicamp, and they can't. The new CBA, they can't rescind the fines that are mandatory at this time of year. So unless he's gotten to a place where he's not caring about his money as much as he used to, Kevin Byard's going to be there.
The mayor's going to be here, y'all. That's all we know. The mayor's going to be home. We should expect the mayor coming in. So, that was my take on the defense. For me, my last dark horse, of course, I got to shout out my boy Caleb Murphy. He went to the old Bulldogs. I'm a Bulldog at heart, Old Fair State.
Yeah.
Caleb Murphy killed the Gleek. I don't know what Tony Nese had them boys out there doing, but Caleb Murphy killed the Gleek in sacks. I expect him to make the roster. I gave a dark horse on offense with Chig, but I expect him to definitely make the team just because of size and just because of the will to learn. He's really a cool guy. I expect him to go ahead and win.
No, you can't dismiss the productivity, no matter what level of football that he was playing at, right? He led the FBS in sacks last year. He was a monster. There's opportunity for him on the edge. Beyond Rashad Weaver, right now as a depth player, Arden Key, who they just signed, this is his first full year. Yeah. Where he's been, looked at as the guy. He's been a third down player for most of his career, so there's no reason to think that Caleb Murphy couldn't make the roster here. That kind of speaks to a depth issue where you would like an undrafted guy like that to have to, I think, fight a little harder for that opportunity than the state of the roster might allow for him. And it's nothing against Caleb Murphy. I just think it speaks to the kind of accumulation of ills that they've had with personnel. But he's one of the names that I'm fascinated to keep an eye on right now at OTAs and once we get into training camp, and certainly once they start having joint work with teams like Minnesota and the Patriots coming here, how that bears itself out, I think will go a long way for players like that.
Awesome. Well, you know what, Buck? It's time.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
I've been ready. Getting me?
Left on Red with Bucko, Buck. This right here is where it goes down, and we have a good time, and we give the people the feedback they ask for this person anonymously.
Oh, Lord.
KP.
Yes, sir.
Take us in.
All right, you ready, guys? Let's get it. So, Left on Red with Bucko. Hey, guys. My son is playing basketball with AAU. For those of you guys who don't know, AAU is a travel basketball team. They travel around the country doing tournaments. So, my son's playing basketball for AAU team, and he's really happy now. He's not the best player, but he's happy, and it's all that matters. My issue is, and this is where the bull crap comes from, his coach is put him in the game a little bit more because they're flirting with each other. I didn't tell him to do that, but my son is super happy. I really don't want to talk to his coach anymore, but don't want my son playing time to now suffer. What should I do? Left on red with Bucko.
Claude have mercy.
I'm saying,
Lord have mercy.
you imagine some kids' moms out there looking at him like, man, this kid can't play.
Wait, I'm gonna take it really bad. You guys know the movie Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
Where should I get to that school and mama gotta do what mama gotta do.
He said, your mama sure do love your story.
So, young ladies, it's only for this season. Next season, take your son to a better camp to get a better coach, so you do not have to flirt. Learn is a lesson, but ma'am, take one for the team.
I have questions. though. I'm
got to
curious.
sit through.
His mama, I'm curious. How old is son? Is son young or is he old? Like,
Well, say AAU. That to me would indicate, you know,
Ooh.
probably high school, right?
how you?
First off, if your son is
Lord
AU and is that bad, give it up, son.
you need to stop paying that money.
You need to go to school and go learn how to be a sports commentator or something. Cause
You might need to.
I learned real quick I couldn't play basketball.
they ain't gonna cut it.
Might need to get in band class or something because you can't. Let me tell you, AAU, you're out. That ain't middle school. That is like high school.
Yeah.
No, they do start 10
Middle
and
school.
12.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it's
So
10 and
I'm
12.
hoping he's young.
It's 10 and 12.
Cause you tell me he's happy.
It's 10 and
You
12.
care about his happiness. He cares for your happiness. I hope he's young. But hey, if you're flirting with the coach, and you see more playing time, she said flirting, but I think there's more going on than flirting.
Well, first off, she got to pay the coach to be on the team.
Right.
So you
she
pay
ain't
the
paying.
coach and you're flirting with the coach. Your son is probably really bad. Because some people get scholarships and things.
for
So your son
AAU, yeah.
is probably
You
really
wanna play
bad. You need to go try football, lacrosse,
Band,
you know, PlayStation
Man.
5.
hey, Twitch.
I just like what I'm dying to know about the situation is I want to know the moment exactly where she realized, okay, this is not ideal.
the-
Like we are.
The moment her son never played, now he's just starting 5.
Now he's out there and she's not really feeling it. Like, I mean, I'm certain that there has been a moment for anybody in any kind of relationship where you're looking around and be like, okay, this may not have been exactly what I thought it
This
might
ain't what I
be,
thought it was.
or nearly as I don't need to be nearly as deep on this as I am currently, especially when you talk about an entanglement like that. That is quite a situation.
She is invested.
She's literally invested in the team.
Mom of the year. Shout out to this young lady.
I would say my remarks be, hey mom, listen, if you're saying for real, you gotta stop paying them. You gotta stop flirting with them. You gotta stop going on dates. If you are having sexual encounter, you guys cut it off. But you are gonna see that playing time cut off as well. I have to let you know that. If you stop what you're doing, he probably is gonna cut you off. But at the same time, it's not healthy. I feel like if your son's happy, ride it out.
Ma'am, I just realized it's June, what, the 4th?
Yeah.
AAU just started.
It just started.
It just
found out real quick.
started. It's summertime is when it just started, ma'am. You got 3 more months.
You know what? No, I don't. I think I gotta go the other way.
started.
Get out of there. You gotta get out of there. You gotta
started.
find him a different sport. You gotta find him a different. You
maybe
gotta find him
get
a
a
different
son,
setup.
we gonna
You
go
gotta
to,
get out of there. This is
NASA.
too much longer.
Your new coach. Coaches out here, but you know, coaches do that though. Like, you know, in high school, I don't know if you said you went to a little smaller school. I'm telling you, I went to a small school. I knew coaches that was banging the moms and had football, like to figure out who's gonna play quarterback. I knew this. I don't say no names, but I knew a coach that was for real deal banging the mom, and he played quarterback, and then they stopped, and he went straight to DN, and he shouldn't have been a DN. He should have been a quarterback. And it was messed up.
It gets so complicated with things like that, and you hate. I mean, and like in all seriousness, like for the kids, that's a terrible situation to be in because now it's become messy in ways that you didn't necessarily intend for it to, or it's had other implications, a ripple effect, for lack of a better term. But I think that stuff goes on way more often than people might initially think that it does, and you know. I mean, whether that's a mom on the sideline who thinks their kid isn't playing enough because somebody else in the class or on the team is, you know, in an entanglement, I would say, like this woman appears to be, you know, it's always good to kind of keep an eye on things.
That's scary.
Ladies, remember one thing when it comes to sport, you cannot flirt with anybody. Men do not flirt for free. I don't care what you say. We don't wake up and just flirt with you because it was a Tuesday. You have something that we like, or you're cute, or you are our type of woman. We're not flirting for free. So you knew
We're not
when we
flirting
opened
for
the
free.
door that I'm sorry, Drake told us a few years ago, we don't do things for free no more. We're not friends for free.
Should have listened.
We don't friend for free. And now, man, you gotta see this one through. I'm sorry. Don't hurt the child's playing time.
Don't.
He may be the next. No, he's not.
He probably is.
But
I don't know. Mom is saying he's not the next anything.
Mom's saying, hey.
Mom's letting us know.
Hey,
we're doing this for memories right now.
Hey, listen, Forrest Gump, he started to run.
He did.
He did.
Got out the braces real quick.
He's still slow, though. His schooling didn't get no better.
It didn't matter. And he did that because of the support of his mom.
Of his mama. But I'm going to tell you, hey, you know what? If she's doing this for basketball, I bet you money she might be doing this for haircuts.
Wait a minute. And that is the episode of No Cap in Your Rap.
Let me stop. She might be doing for haircuts. What else? What else, Mom?
I do my grass.
What else, Mom?
Bucko, we gonna get canceled.
No, we ain't gonna do that. No, we're sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh Lord.
Just stop doing what you're doing, Mom.
No flirting for free.
No flirting for free. No cap. Buck. Man, it's been real.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Man, I love that y'all do this. I appreciate the invite. It's really cool to be able to hang out, to chop it up locally, and I know that people really appreciate the work that y'all do here on the podcast.
No, man, but we appreciate you for coming and really taking the time out of your day, your Sunday, to come and rap with us about what we love, which is Titan football, as well as just your journey from being that little boy from Indiana that we went to law, and I learned a lot about you. I think my fans will too. I think they learned a lot about you. Cause I promise you, it was really, really enjoying to hear you, man, for real, and actually get you to come through and mess with us.
That's no cap.
Hey, for real, this is no cap. Now, this was actually episode. This is actually the start of season 2. So this is the season 2 opener right here, and we jumped off with a bang.
Let's get it going.
I definitely want to make sure, because during the season, super busy. I definitely want to parlay at the end of the season, definitely probably around after Super Bowl, and come around and see what happened.
See what happened after the fact. How much of what we talked about today.
How much fuckery didn't happen, or how much good shit didn't happen. I'm curious to see. But
we may have to talk sooner than that, but
we're listen. Me and you.
No. I'm talking about this man because the 53-man roster is only a few months away. So a lot of the questions we had today, we'll actually have our answers.
We'll know.
We will, and we're actually going to start once the season come up.
Sure,
have our Titans talk. The segment we're going to have as well, add it in there. Cause I'm curious, because I definitely want to see how my Titans do this year and see how they're going to rock. But it was really a pleasure to have you on here today.
You can't get off. You can't leave yet. I need one answer.
Hit me with it.
What's the record for next year? Honest shoot, no cap.
Oh man,
8-9.
Okay.
8-9.
I like that.
Which, by the way, I think could still win that division.
8-9 still win the. Hey, listen, 8-9 going to the playoffs. I'm just saying.
I mean, I honestly think that it could look. So what were they? 7-10 last year, right?
Yes.
7-10. The bottom fell out. If they go 7-10 again, but it feels different because it wasn't 7 consecutive losses. If there's some signs of improvement without necessarily an improvement in the win-loss record, I know that's something that fans won't necessarily tolerate, but I think that there can be still room for legitimate growth. But I think, man, I don't count them out on anything. I've seen them play some terrible football, but I don't count them out.
Coach Vrabel.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't care who's on the field.
I can't.
That man, I think he strapped up a few games last season. I don't know.
He had to. They're running out of players.
I'm pretty sure he strapped up a few games. I didn't see on the sideline. He get too fired up. He might go out there and knock somebody out if you need to.
Buck, let them know where they can follow you at.
Man, real easy. It's at BuckReising on IG or Twitter. And, we catch you on the radio, podcast, or anywhere in between.
Y'all make sure y'all check out the man's podcast and the YouTube. I'm telling y'all, it's going to have you tuned in for real, because it's had me tuned in the last 4 years. So before I even thought about podcast, doing music, I was a guy going to work, turning them on YouTube, playing it, and listening.
Man, that's real. I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate you, man. KP.
Yes, sir.
It's been real, brother. I appreciate you. Go ahead and let them know to follow you, KP.
Always. So if you guys on Instagram, _Keith Pride, on YouTube, Keith Pride as well. Same things, Facebook. Yeah, man, we know we're going to keep on doing some great interviews and great podcasts with people throughout the city, local in Nashville, around Middle Tennessee. We had a great one today from the Titans, who watching all of our players every day grow and grind as we sit home, watch my phone and cry. Cause,
and again,
I just want to Super Bowl one time before I leave the earth.
You're going to get one.
Titans
Listen,
won
I want one before we go
Super
to.
Bowl.
I want one too. We don't get it.
That's all I care about.
Just keep drinking.
If not, we get on
Keep that bottle
eBay and
close
that
to
was
Sunday.
on.
You hear me? Keep that bottle close this Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
And I am your host, Djbuck0. Again, you know to follow me at Djbuck0, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. This was the season opener for season 2 of No Cap in My Rap, episode 1. And I'm your host, Djbuck0. No cap!